My friends, there is no such thing as coincidence in the hands of Almighty God. Every step, every encounter, every moment is woven into a divine tapestry that He alone designs. If you are wondering how God introduces you to the one He has set apart for you, listen closely. God does not operate through confusion or desperation. He is not the author of chaos, nor does He send people into your life to lead you away from His purpose. If someone is meant to be in your life, they will not be a source of doubt, but a reflection of His peace. The world tells you to chase, to beg, to force love into existence, but God's love story is written differently. It is not found in manipulation or desperation, but in trust and surrender. The right person will not require you to compromise your faith, your dignity, or your calling. So, how does God introduce you to your soulmate? He does it through His perfect plan, in His perfect time, in a way that cannot be mistaken. He leads, He confirms, and He establishes. You won't have to wonder if they belong in your life, because when God writes the story, it is sealed with His peace. Every moment of our lives is woven into a divine plan that is far greater than anything we could ever imagine. God is not a God of accidents or coincidences. He is the master planner, the one who knows the end from the beginning. When it comes to meeting the right person, the one He has ordained to walk beside you in this life, it is not a matter of luck or random chance. It is His divine orchestration at work. Many people believe that love is something they must go out and find, as if they are wandering through life hoping to stumble upon the right person. They spend years searching, worrying, and often settling for less than what God has in store because they do not trust His timing. But Scripture reminds us that God is the one who orders our steps. When He has someone for you, He does not leave it up to fate or human effort. He orchestrates the meeting in a way that cannot be mistaken. Think about the way God works throughout the Bible. Nothing happens by accident. When Ruth met Boaz, it was not luck that brought her to his field. It was divine direction. When Rebekah was chosen for Isaac, it was not because she just happened to be at the well. It was God leading her there at the right moment. Time and time again, we see that God aligns events, circumstances, and even the desires of the heart to bring two people together according to His perfect will. God's orchestration does not mean you will wake up one day and find your soulmate knocking at your door without any effort on your part. Rather, it means that as you walk in obedience to Him, as you surrender your desires and trust His timing, He will guide you into the right relationships. He will open the right doors, close the wrong ones, and place you where you need to be. Often, people become impatient and try to take matters into their own hands. They rush ahead of God, forcing relationships that were never meant to be. But when God is the one orchestrating, you will not have to force anything. The right person will come into your life not because you manipulated circumstances, but because God directed both of your paths to cross at the appointed time. His timing is always perfect, even when it does not align with our own expectations. One of the clearest signs of God's hand in a relationship is peace. When something is from Him, it will not be driven by anxiety, fear, or confusion. The world may tell you to chase after love, to settle for whoever is available, to take control of your own destiny. But God's way is different. He asks us to trust Him, to wait on Him, and to believe that He knows what is best. If God is orchestrating your love story, you will not have to beg someone to stay in your life. The person He has for you will not be inconsistent, unsure, or hesitant. They will recognize the divine connection just as much as you do. There will be a sense of assurance, not because everything will be perfect or without challenges, but because God's presence will be evident in the relationship. Another sign of divine orchestration is alignment. God does not bring two people together without purpose. If He is leading you to someone, it will be for a reason. Your calling, your values, and your faith will align in a way that glorifies Him. You will find that instead of pulling you away from your walk with God, the relationship will strengthen it. The right person will encourage you to grow in your faith, to seek God even more, and to walk in obedience to His will. When God is at work, there is no need to fear missing out or making the wrong choice. His plans are not fragile. They cannot be destroyed by human mistakes. Even when we take detours or make wrong decisions, He is still able to redirect us and bring us back to His best. The key is surrender, letting go of control and allowing Him to lead. The truth is, God knows who you need and when you need them. He sees the full picture while we only see a small part. If He is keeping someone from you, it is not rejection. It is protection. If He is asking you to wait, it is not to punish you. It is to prepare you. And when the time is right, when your heart is ready, and when His purpose is set in motion, He will introduce you to the one He has chosen for you. So trust Him. Do not be anxious. Do not try to force something that He has not ordained. Rest in the assurance that the same God who spoke the universe into existence is the same God who is writing your love story. His orchestration is perfect, and when He brings two hearts together, nothing can separate them. There is a distinct difference between something that is divinely orchestrated and something that is forced by human will. When God is the author of something, there is peace. When something is not from Him, there is confusion, uncertainty, and a constant battle between what we feel and what we know deep inside. The world often tells us that love is chaotic, unpredictable, and full of ups and downs, but God's way is different. His presence is marked by peace, not disorder. Many people struggle with relationships that leave them feeling anxious and unsure. They question whether they are loved, whether they are valued, whether they are truly meant to be with someone. But God is not the author of confusion. He does not place people in our lives to create distress or doubt. When something is from Him, it does not bring turmoil to the heart. It brings confidence, stability, and a deep sense of assurance. This does not mean that every God-ordained relationship will be free from challenges. Even the strongest relationships face trials. However, the difference is that trials in a relationship from God do not lead to a constant state of emotional instability. Instead, they draw both individuals closer to God and to each other. There is a foundation of trust, a sense of security, and a knowledge that no matter what happens, both people are on the same journey, walking in faith together. Confusion in relationships often arises when we are trying to force something that God has not ordained. People hold on to relationships that make them feel uneasy, hoping that time will change things. They make excuses for inconsistencies, they ignore red flags, and they convince themselves that things will eventually get better. But when God is truly at the center, there is no need for constant questioning. His peace confirms what is right, and His absence of peace warns us when something is not meant for us. God's peace is not an emotion, it is a confirmation. It is the inner knowing that surpasses human understanding. When He brings two people together, there is no need to manipulate circumstances or convince someone to stay. There is a sense of unity, a natural rhythm that does not feel forced. Relationships that are from Him flow with grace, not with constant resistance. When God removes His peace from a situation, it is a sign that He is protecting us. Many times, people continue to pursue relationships where there is no peace, believing that their love, their effort, or their prayers will be enough to fix what is broken. But God's presence in a relationship does not require excessive striving. He does not call us to relationships where we have to constantly beg for love, attention, or commitment. The right relationship, the one that He ordains, will be marked by peace even in the midst of trials. God's peace is also evident in how a relationship affects your spiritual life. If a relationship causes you to feel distant from God, if it makes you compromise your faith, if it pulls you away from prayer and weakens your convictions, then it is not from Him. The right relationship will strengthen your walk with God, not weaken it. The right person will encourage you to seek Him more, not less. They will be a source of spiritual encouragement, not a distraction that leads you away from His purpose. Many people ignore the warning signs of confusion because they do not want to be alone. They settle for relationships that leave them restless, thinking that having someone is better than waiting for the right one. But when God is truly in control, waiting is not wasted time. It is preparation. His peace will never lead you into something that requires you to sacrifice your joy, your faith, or your well-being. The enemy thrives in confusion. He wants people to be so caught up in unhealthy relationships that they lose sight of God's best. He whispers lies, making people believe that they have to tolerate dysfunction in order to experience love. But God's love is pure, steady, and unwavering. His love does not bring fear or uncertainty. His love is patient, kind, and full of peace. When God brings the right person into your life, there will be a sense of deep calm. Even in the face of challenges, there will be no fear of abandonment, no second guessing of intentions, no wondering where you stand. The relationship will be built on trust, and both hearts will be at rest in knowing that they are walking in God's will. Choosing a relationship that is covered in God's peace means being willing to let go of anything that does not align with His presence. It means trusting that if something brings confusion, it is not from Him. It means believing that His plans are better than anything we could create for ourselves. And when His peace leads the way, there is no room for doubt, only the assurance that what He has brought together will stand firm in His perfect love. Desperation is a dangerous thing, especially when it comes to love. It leads people to settle, to compromise, and to chase after things that were never meant for them. It creates anxiety, fear, and an overwhelming sense of urgency that pushes people out of God's perfect timing. But love, as God designed it, is not born out of desperation. It is built on trust. Trust in His timing, trust in His plan, and trust that He knows exactly what is best. Many people believe they must do whatever it takes to find love, as if it is something that will slip through their fingers if they do not grab it quickly enough. They rush into relationships that do not align with God's will, hoping that with enough effort, they can make something work. But when God is truly the author of a relationship, there is no need to force it. There is no need to beg someone to stay, no need to convince someone of their worth, and no need to hold on to something that is clearly slipping away. Trusting God means believing that He is in control even when nothing seems to be happening. It means resting in the knowledge that He is working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, shaping hearts, and preparing both people for the right time. It means understanding that waiting is not punishment but protection, that silence is not abandonment but preparation. The moments of waiting are where faith is strengthened, where character is refined, and where God teaches what true love really is. Desperation often comes from fear. The fear of being alone, the fear of missing out, the fear of never finding someone. But fear is not from God. He has not given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. When fear drives decisions, those decisions are often outside of His will. Desperation leads to choosing people who do not truly value or respect God's plan. It leads to tolerating mistreatment, to making excuses for red flags, and to staying in relationships that drain rather than uplift. But when trust is the foundation, there is no room for fear. There is no anxiety about the future, no panic about timelines, no worry about whether love will ever come. There is only faith that God is in control. A relationship from God will never require someone to lose themselves in order to keep another person. It will not demand that they lower their standards, compromise their values, or abandon their faith. When someone trusts God fully, they do not have to accept less than what He has promised. They do not have to chase after love, because love that is meant for them will never require chasing. The right person, the one God has prepared, will not need to be convinced of their worth or persuaded to stay. Trusting God means understanding that His timing is perfect. It means knowing that just as He provides in every other area of life, He also provides in relationships. He knows who belongs in someone's life and who does not. He knows when the right time is, and He knows how to bring two people together in a way that glorifies Him. When someone walks in obedience and trust, they do not have to fear missing out. They do not have to wonder if they should have tried harder, waited longer, or done more. What is meant for them will never be taken away. Desperation often makes people believe they have to work for love, that they have to prove themselves worthy of it. But God's love is freely given, and the right relationship will reflect that same love. It will not be built on striving or constant effort to keep someone interested. It will be marked by peace, by mutual respect, and by a deep sense of security in God's plan. It will not feel like an exhausting chase, but rather a natural unfolding of His will. Many people spend years searching for love, pouring their energy into relationships that leave them empty. But when they shift their focus from chasing to trusting, everything changes. The pressure lifts, the anxiety fades, and the need to control disappears. Instead of grasping for something that is not meant for them, they can rest in the confidence that what God has planned will come at the right time. The world encourages desperation. It glorifies rushed relationships, fleeting emotions, and settling for whatever is available. But God's way is different. His way is patient, intentional, and deeply fulfilling. His way does not involve striving but surrender. Those who trust Him fully will see that what He has prepared is far greater than anything they could have found on their own. When love comes in His time and His way, there will be no doubt, no fear, and no desperation. Only the deep, unwavering assurance that it is exactly as He intended. Faith is the foundation of everything in a believer's life, and when it comes to relationships, it should never be compromised. The world often encourages people to make sacrifices in their beliefs for the sake of love, to lower their spiritual standards in order to keep someone close. But a relationship that requires a person to weaken their faith is not from God. The right relationship, the one ordained by Him, will never pull someone away from their walk with Him. Instead, it will strengthen their faith, deepen their commitment to God, and encourage them to grow spiritually. Many people enter relationships thinking they can change the other person over time. They convince themselves that if they just love enough, pray enough, or compromise a little, things will eventually align. But faith is not something to be negotiated. It is the core of a believer's identity, the very thing that shapes their values, decisions, and future. When faith is compromised in a relationship, it affects everything. It creates conflict, confusion, and distance from God. It forces one person to carry a spiritual burden that was never meant to be carried alone. God calls His people to be equally yoked, meaning that both individuals should be aligned in their faith, walking together toward the same spiritual goal. When one person is deeply committed to God and the other is indifferent or opposed to faith, the relationship becomes a constant struggle. Decisions that should be made with God in mind become battles. Convictions that were once strong begin to weaken. Prayer, worship, and devotion become less of a priority. not because of direct opposition, but because of slow, subtle compromise. A relationship that requires faith to be set aside is never worth it. No matter how strong emotions may be, no matter how deep the connection feels, a love that competes with devotion to God will never lead to true peace. There is always an inner conflict, a feeling of being torn between two loves, one for God and one for a person who does not share the same spiritual values. And over time, that conflict takes a toll. Either faith is compromised, or the weight of being spiritually mismatched becomes unbearable. God does not ask His people to choose between Him and a relationship. He does not expect them to set aside their beliefs for the sake of love. Instead, He calls them to trust that He will provide the right person, someone who will walk in faith with them, not against them. The right relationship will be one where both individuals pursue God together, where prayer is shared, where spiritual growth is a priority, and where honoring Him is more important than pleasing the world. There are many who settle, fearing that if they wait for someone who shares their faith, they will be alone forever. But waiting on God's timing is never a waste. It is a process of preparation, a time of growing closer to Him, a season of refining faith and character. Rushing into a relationship that does not align with His will only leads to heartbreak, regret, and distance from Him. A believer should never have to choose between love and faith. The right love, the one designed by God, will always include both. Faith should be the foundation, not an afterthought. A relationship built on anything else, physical attraction, emotional connection, or common interests, will not withstand the challenges of life. Only a relationship rooted in God's truth can endure. Storms will come, difficulties will arise, and without a shared faith, those challenges can break even the strongest bond. But when both individuals are anchored in God, they can face anything together. They will pray through struggles, seek wisdom from Scripture, and rely on Him rather than their own strength. The enemy wants believers to compromise. He wants them to believe that faith is something that can be put on hold for the sake of love. But every compromise in faith weakens the spiritual foundation. It creates space for doubt, temptation, and ultimately, separation from God. A relationship that requires someone to silence their faith is not a relationship from Him. Love should never require sacrificing devotion to the one who created it. Trusting God means believing that He knows what is best. It means refusing to settle for anything less than His perfect will. It means holding on to faith even when the world says to let go. The right person, the one God has chosen, will never ask for compromise. Instead, they will stand side by side in faith, lifting each other up, encouraging one another, and growing closer to God together. That is the kind of love that lasts, the kind of love that reflects His glory, and the kind of love that is truly worth waiting for. In a world that thrives on instant gratification, waiting can feel like a burden. People rush into relationships, fearing they will be left behind, worried that time is slipping away. The pressure to find love quickly can lead to making decisions based on emotions rather than wisdom. But God does not operate on human timelines. His plans are not driven by urgency or impatience. When it comes to love and relationships, His timing is perfect, and what He has ordained will happen exactly when it is meant to, not a moment too soon or too late. Human nature desires control. Many people try to take matters into their own hands, believing that if they do not act quickly, they will miss their opportunity. They compromise, force connections, and chase after love, thinking they must create their own destiny. But forcing something outside of God's timing never leads to true peace. When a relationship is rushed, it often comes with confusion, unnecessary struggles, and a sense of unease. It lacks the divine flow that comes when God is the one guiding the process. God's timing is not about making people wait for no reason. It is about preparation. There are lessons to learn, character to develop, and spiritual maturity to grow before stepping into a relationship that is truly God-ordained. Many people pray for a godly spouse, but are not yet ready to be the partner they are asking for. The waiting season is not wasted time. It is a season of transformation. It is a time when God works on the heart, refines desires, and ensures that when the right person comes, the relationship will be built on a solid foundation. Rushing into love often leads to heartbreak. People get caught up in emotions, overlooking red flags, ignoring God's warnings, and convincing themselves that they must hold on to something that is not meant for them. But what is truly from God does not need to be forced. There is no need to manipulate circumstances, chase after someone, or constantly prove worthiness. A relationship that is divinely timed will unfold naturally without striving or desperation. Trusting God's timing requires faith. It means believing that even when nothing seems to be happening, He is still working. It means resisting the urge to compare one's journey to others, understanding that what He has for each person is unique. Society sets expectations for when love should happen, but God's plan does not follow human schedules. Some people meet their spouse early in life, while others meet them later. Some find love when they least expect it, while others go through a long season of preparation. No journey is the same, but each one is perfectly designed by Him. Patience is difficult, especially when it feels like time is passing by. But every delay has a purpose. Sometimes God is protecting from something that is not right. Other times, He is allowing space for individual growth. A relationship that is meant to last a lifetime should not be rushed. Just as a strong building requires a firm foundation, a strong relationship requires time to be properly established. Skipping steps or taking shortcuts leads to instability. God does not need help in fulfilling His promises. Many people try to make things happen in their own strength, settling for less than what He has planned. But divine timing means trusting that He is in control. It means surrendering the desire to rush and choosing to rest in His wisdom. It means believing that when the right time comes, the right person will be there, and everything will fall into place effortlessly. One of the clearest signs that something is aligned with God's timing is peace. When a relationship is rushed, it often comes with anxiety, uncertainty, and a fear of losing it. But when it is from Him, there is an unshakable assurance. There is no need to constantly question or wonder if it is right. His peace confirms what human logic cannot. Waiting on God does not mean doing nothing. It is a time to grow, to seek Him, and to become the person He has called each individual to be. It is a season of preparation, not punishment. And when the right moment arrives, when everything is aligned according to His perfect plan, love will come in a way that no human effort could have orchestrated. There will be no doubts, no striving, and no regret, only the joy of knowing that His timing was worth the wait. God does not operate in confusion. When He speaks, His voice is clear, His direction is steady, and His confirmation is unmistakable. Many people struggle with uncertainty in relationships, wondering if they are making the right choice, if the person they are with is truly meant for them, or if they are forcing something that is outside of God's will. But God is not a God of disorder or doubt. When He orchestrates something, His confirmation comes with peace, clarity, and assurance. One of the greatest struggles in relationships is distinguishing between personal desires and divine direction. Emotions can be misleading, and strong feelings can create the illusion of certainty. But God's confirmation is not based on fleeting emotions. It is rooted in truth, wisdom, and His perfect will. What He ordains will never contradict His word, and His guidance will always align with His character. He does not confirm relationships through instability, confusion, or fear. Instead, he provides a deep sense of peace that transcends human understanding. Many people try to convince themselves that something is from God when all the signs point otherwise. They ignore red flags, dismiss warnings, and justify actions that go against his principles. But God's confirmation is not something that has to be forced. It is not something that requires endless searching for hidden signs or asking for multiple reassurances. When he brings two people together, the confirmation is clear. It does not leave room for doubt or hesitation. God confirms his will in multiple ways. One of the strongest indicators is peace. This peace is not just about feeling good in the moment. It is a deep, abiding sense of security that remains even when challenges arise. It is the absence of inner turmoil, the stillness that comes from knowing that something is right in his eyes. If a relationship is causing constant distress, confusion, or uneasiness, that is often a sign that it is not his best. His presence in something brings confidence, not chaos. Another way God confirms his will is through alignment with his word. He will never lead anyone into a relationship that compromises their faith, weakens their convictions, or pulls them away from him. A God-ordained relationship will honor him, encourage spiritual growth, and reflect his love. If a relationship requires going against his commands, making excuses for sin, or neglecting time with him, then it is not his confirmation. It is a distraction. God also uses wise counsel to provide confirmation. He places mentors, spiritual leaders, and trusted believers in people's lives to offer guidance and wisdom. When multiple godly voices confirm the same thing, it is often a sign of his direction. However, when close friends and mentors consistently express concern or caution about a relationship, it is important to listen. God often speaks through those he has placed in someone's life, using them as a means of protection and wisdom. Circumstances also play a role in God's confirmation. When he orchestrates something, the details fall into place in ways that cannot be explained by human effort. There is no need to force doors open or manipulate situations to make things work. Instead, his hand moves things naturally, bringing alignment in timing, purpose, and direction. When obstacles constantly arise, when things feel unnaturally difficult, and when nothing seems to fit together, it may be a sign that he is withholding his confirmation. Another sign of God's confirmation is mutual commitment and willingness. In a relationship that he ordains, both individuals will be equally invested, equally committed, and equally pursuing him. There will not be one person constantly fighting to make things work, while the other is distant or uncertain. God does not bring people into relationships where they have to beg for love, attention, or respect. The right person, the one he has chosen, will be just as certain about the relationship as he makes it clear to both individuals. God does not leave his people in confusion. He is a loving father who desires to lead his children in the right direction. He does not play games or make it impossible to know his will. When he confirms something, it will be evident, undeniable, and consistent. There will be no need to force, no need to doubt, and no need to seek constant validation from external sources. His confirmation brings peace, clarity, and the unwavering assurance that he is in control. Many times, people seek God's confirmation but are afraid of his answer. They want him to approve their desires rather than surrender to his will. But trusting him means being willing to accept whatever he reveals, even if it is not what was originally wanted. His ways are higher, his plans are greater, and his love is too perfect to allow anything less than his best. When he confirms something, it is not just for temporary happiness. It is for long-term fulfillment, purpose and the reflection of His glory. Waiting for God's confirmation requires patience and trust. It means resisting the urge to rush ahead, refusing to settle for uncertainty, and believing that His plan is worth the wait. When He speaks, when He moves, and when He confirms, it will be undeniably clear. His voice will not be drowned in confusion, His direction will not lead into distress, and His blessing will not come with sorrow. What He ordains, He establishes, and what He confirms, He sustains. When God confirms something, He does so with absolute clarity. His voice is not one of confusion, anxiety, or doubt, but of peace, wisdom, and assurance. A relationship from Him will not require endless striving, compromise of faith, or forcing things to work. Instead, it will be marked by His presence, His guidance, and a deep sense of knowing that this is His will. Trusting God's confirmation means being willing to wait, to listen, and to surrender personal desires in exchange for His perfect plan. It means refusing to settle for uncertainty and embracing the assurance that what He ordains will come together in His perfect timing. When He speaks, His answer will be unmistakable, and when He moves, no force on earth can stop His will from unfolding. So stand firm in faith. Trust His process, and know that His confirmation will always be clear when the time is right,